It's time for Let's Get Real with your host from Bob Richards and Associates, Bob Richards.
Bob.
Michael, here we are again.
We are here again, and I have to say, thank you for wearing your Gucci shirt again.
You're very welcome. I promised I would.
Back by popular demand, we were getting letters, fan mail, calls. Please tell Bob to wear that Gucci shirt.
Abundance of
yeah. In fact,
I still haven't got through.
I got an email here from a famous movie star.
Yeah,
it says, "Dear Michael, tell Bob to wear that Gucci shirt again." And you know what it's signed?
No.
Famous movie star.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all I know.
That could mean anybody.
I can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
I mean, it's right there.
It's right there.
You can't make this stuff up. Well, I understand that you have got something really important to talk about the local real estate market that I think is going to help a lot of people understand something that I think a lot of people can benefit from, both buyers and sellers, and that has to do with contingency purchases and sales. And for me, it's hard to say that word contingency without, having an aneurysm or something. I'll try it again. I can't do it.
No, too many syllables.
I'm limited to twice a day. That's it. I burned it up.
Yep, you have.
So what does that mean? What the heck is a contingency? That word
sale.
I can't say.
Yes. No, you're good. You're good. There's two kinds, Michael. There's a seller contingency and there's a buyer contingency. Try to explain a little bit of the details of both. A general contingency would be something that a buyer would insert into a purchase contract with a seller. And that contract or that addendum contingency, typically the most of them are subject to sale of the buyer's residence contingency, meaning that there's a domino that needs to fall before the buyer's home can close, thus then making that buyer able to close on the seller's home. So it's kind of a two-step process, and what's difficult with that is it's the buyer's buyer that you're not quite sure what's going to happen. Are they in play? Do they have a contingency? What other conditions are there in the offer? A home inspection, mold inspection, meth test, whatever else it might be. What is it that's causing, besides that one addendum, that is the subject to them acquiring that new residence? So now you have a seller, and let's get real, Michael. These contracts, unfortunately, are very buyer friendly. They're not so much on the seller side, both for rentals and also for ownership. So as a seller, you can be handcuffed from being able to market your home and take another offer from another buyer. So if you've accepted an offer with a contingency of sale, and then Billy, Bob, and Sally come a few days later and they wish to make an offer, no contingencies, home inspection and no close. Well, guess what the seller has to do? They can't do anything. They have to wait and wait and wait because the offer that they've accepted has that contingency, and they agreed to take their home off the market. They agreed to not show it to any other parties. And if they did show it and accepted another offer, they would have to be in a backup buyer position. You couldn't pull the rug out from the initial buyer that had this contingency of sale. So that's a real negative, because if the seller's trying to move on and they can't because they're waiting for something else to happen, they're paralyzed. They can't move forward with what their goals and what their plans are. So that's really an unfortunate thing. Those are the two main things. Now, sometimes there's a contingency with an investment that needs to mature. Maybe it's a job transfer that needs to be secured with a contract in place. One of the things that it does affect the buyer is they don't have much leverage. You've got something that is a possibility maybe of a sale of a home that then allows them to buy the seller's home, but it's all a maybe. And so the seller's like, you know what, I can't come down on price because I don't even know when you're going to close. And there has to be some limitations with that contract as to when that contract finally is, we're done. We're null, void. You go your way. I'm going to try and find Billy, Bob, and Sally and see if they still want to buy my house. So there's some negatives with regards to that for the buyer. They lose their leverage in purchasing.
So can these that word that I can't say, that contingency word that I can't say. So I'm not going to say contingency for the rest of the show.
Okay.
I just can't say
All right.
it. We'll just
It's
call
all
it that word.
That word.
So if there's that word, that's pending. It seems to me that, and I think you told me about a situation like this one time. So let's say that I'm a seller. I'm selling my house. And there's a buyer. You're buying my house. Okay. And Sean, our producer, is a realtor. And that's a scary thought.
Not really, Sean.
No,
It's
not really,
fantastic.
Sean. We love you.
I know what I'm doing.
You know, this show is awesome. That's all I can
It
say.
really is.
This is not your boring,
No,
typical
no.
real estate podcast.
We get along well.
So I want to sell my house, okay? And you want to buy my house. And you say, you know, man, I really love your house and I would like to be in here in the next 30 days. I go, that's great. But before I can commit to that, I have to make sure that I can buy the new house that I want to buy before I can sell you the house that you want to buy. And you say, well, that's okay because I have to sell my Learjet so I can get, so it becomes like a dominoes type thing. And if one domino in the chain is broken, this whole thing falls apart.
does.
So
It
you could
implodes.
lose like 5 sales because this guy's Learjet hasn't sold or something like that.
Yeah, the inconvenience that it poses on the buyer and seller, or buyers and sellers, it's very rare that you have more than 3 dominoes to have 4 or 5 that actually fall. I mean, 3 is a miracle in and of itself. 4 or 5, and certainly 6, which is almost unheard of. That's just way too many, and you don't have any control of that buyer's buyer, and it goes away. But many times, so like you give that example, Michael, those sellers are in a contingency of sale, saying to the buyer, "Hey, I will sell my home to you, but I have a contingency that I find a replacement property to buy and move into in ample time so that when I close on my sale, I can then close on my purchase within the next 1 or 2 days afterwards and move on in." The sellers are really not going to be in a position to say, "Oh, we'll just live in a van down by the river." Yeah, that's just not going to work. Some of them have a travel trailer or a nice motor coach or motor. Yeah, they can do something like that in the interim prior to them acquiring another home. But if by age or time or inability to make that move happen, then now the seller's having to scramble. And scramble equals mistakes, and scramble equals errors, and scramble means that you've kind of bought something just on the fly rather than something that you really want. So that's where the seller contingency and a buyer contingency come into the play of a contract.
So it seems to be a little complicated, but I could see if I'm going to sell my house, I want to sell my house. I don't really want to sell my house until I have a place to live because
You're right.
I don't want to live in a van down by the river.
No.
Even though the Farleys are
Yep.
very nice neighbors,
They are.
I don't think I want to live down there in a van down by the river. So, and if I'm the buyer, it's like, okay, I want to buy your house, but it's contingent upon me. Okay, I have to get this job. I have to sell my house. And can a contingency be predicated upon anything? By the way, predicated is another word that I can't say.
Okay, you
but
did
can it
good.
be based upon? Can a contingency that word be based upon anything, or does it have to be real estate oriented?
It can be anything, Michael. It could be subject to Sally being able to get the membership at the dance class or be accepted to a certain school that's outside the boundaries of a home that they really want to go there, but okay, we have to go there because that's where the boundaries are. Anything that you can think of really can be a condition of sale. The weirdest one that I had presented to me was the buyer's contingency was that their dog had enough of a litter to be able, when the dogs got mature to be sold, that it gave them enough money for their loan costs for the mortgage. Now, of course, I had a chuckle. I made a copy of it, and I had the seller reject it because I love dogs. I am a big fan of dogs, but when little four-legged furry animal needs to make sure that she has enough of a litter that is going to create cash flow for the buyer, I couldn't feel like that was a wise move for the seller to accept that.
Wow, that's
yeah. Tell me how many times you've heard that before.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
Since you told me that story,
right.
since you told us that story, I'm going to tell you the story.
Take it.
And this like your story is a true story.
Uh-huh.
So I was doing a marketing campaign for a realtor down in like San Clemente area.
Mm-hmm.
And she happened to love this certain breed of dog, since you were talking about dogs.
Uh-huh.
And it was one of those little weird dogs that I don't want any little weird dog people to send your letters to
The
me.
phones have just lit up.
Oh my God, we're in trouble. But it was one of those dogs that's like really, it looks like a space alien. It's completely ugly and it's I don't even know what it was, but it was horrific. And she put this dog on her listing signs. And they were all over the place, and it was stuck in the front yard of this house she had listed. And there's little dog prints around the yard. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And I go, why are you using this as a sales and marketing tool? Because this is the ugliest dog I've ever seen. It's just, I love the dog. And I go, well, what's the point? She goes, this is a very specialized breed of dogs. And people either love this dog or they completely hate this kind of dog.
Uh-huh.
I want to sell my home to a person that already has one of these dogs and already loves it because I know the dog will appreciate the home.
Oh my goodness.
I only want to sell to someone who has one of these dogs.
Oh my goodness.
Needless to say, the marketing campaign was terminated.
I bet it was.
And I have no idea what
Imagine
happened, but I have a feeling. So it was contingent upon a buyer who had that kind of dog to buy the house.
Wow. That's
weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck on that one.
Yeah, good luck. on that.
It's probably still for sale.
It might still be
20 years later.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of interesting homes, Mr. Bob, I understand that you have a brand new special listing that you'd like to share with us.
I do today, Michael. This is a two-story that is just west of River Road in a subdivision called Eagles Landing. St. James Place is just a little bit north of that. That's, oh my gosh, been for ever a popular place, and this is just a little bit south of that. Fort Pierce Drive is like the cross street. It's a two-story. It's got a main level and an upstairs. It has 4 bedrooms. It has 2 family rooms, one on the main floor and a huge one upstairs that they had actually used as a homeschool area. It's got those attic trusses, so you've got nice elevation inside. You can use the whole room. It does have a large office off the entry on the left-hand side. Some people have used it in past for a living room. I like the office idea. You can get multiple desks in there. A beautiful entry, grand foyer kind of a feel, and fireplace in the family room. Kitchen's big, lots of storage, breakfast nook, formal dining. One of the things I really like about this house, Michael, it's a 3rd acre, so you got a lot of elbow room between you and your neighbor. Of course, a 3-car garage. But the backyard has this awesome patio and gas fire pit that's back there, and it's fenced. And on the other side of the fence is a natural wildlife preserve. It's not designated by the Army Corps of Engineers, but you don't tell the animals that. They have no idea. And these animals are like deer, raccoons, birds, lots of birds, probably an occasional skunk to kind of clear the sinuses, sure. But nothing wrong with that. And it's just fun to see the different animals that are back there any time of the year. Especially during this time when the leaves are on this tamarack trees and bushes, and it's just a nice, comfortable area. Speaking of comfortable, it's a few degrees cooler back there because of that foliage that's in the back. Anyway, I really like that as one of the big selling points.
So basically, you have your own private non-petting zoo.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, do not feed the animals. Exactly right. This is, we just, again, reduced this one just below 700, just in the high 690s, and definitely worth it. It's 3,512 square feet, both for the main and the upstairs. And of course, that does not include the garage. Anyway, it's a great house. We actually had an inspection done on it before we listed it. So any of the errors or things that needed to be fixed or repaired, done. good to go.
Sounds like a great home. What's the address again?
It's 1815 South, and the street is called Point Drive.
Cool. Well, before we go, what is the bottom line to engaging in one of these contingency sales or purchases?
Be careful. As a buyer, be careful if you want to do this. Be careful if you're a seller. Honestly, folks, keep it simple. Don't get into complicated things that create addendums and subject tos, and by the way, and we got to do this now, we got to do that. It really makes it a difficult transaction, not for the realtor, but between the buyer and seller. It's always stressful already. And so make it less stressful. Keep it a clean contract. Get an offer on your home before you go search for another one. Before you make an offer on it, get the one that's sold that you need to get gone. Get that one out of the way. Don't get it complicated. It just gets messy, and people get hurt financially and sometimes legally by that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Good advice. Well, Bob, if we need to get a hold of you, how do we find you?
Yeah, easy to find me. 435-703-UTAH is my call or text number. 435-688-UTAH is my office number. And, of course, buyutah.com on the internet. So try to be as visible possible and available as possible, too.
Cool. Bob, thanks a lot. We'll see you again next time with another episode of Let's Get Real.
Thank you.
This has been Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards and Associates. For more information, buyutah.com. We invite you to return again for another edition of Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards and Associates. This has been a production of 1-to-1 Network.